Welcome back. In the previous video we were talking about the Intel the white Intel flat panel iMacs and some of the service history that I have experienced dealing with these as an Apple technician. And in this video I'm going to go over the procedure for cleaning one of these keyboards. It can be done. It's a lot of work, but it can be done. So one of the problems with these keyboards is they look great when they're brand new, but very quickly they deteriorate and they start to look like shit. And if you're lucky, you haven't had any problems with yours. First thing I want to do is I want to try to remove some of these scratches. Now we're going to get into tearing this sucker apart very soon. First thing I'm going to do though, take some window cleaner. I use generic window cleaner, nothing expensive. And I'm going to clean the surface of the bottom of this keyboard. Now you'll never ever see these scratches. This is just something that I want to try. I'm actually kind of curious to see how well this works. I've tried this method of polishing away scratches on other things and it works marvelously. So I want to try it on one of these keyboards. You have nothing to lose. Let's just get it done. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this, where the hell is, oh there it is. This is Meguiar's Motorcycle Plastic Cleaner Polish. This is designed for motorcycle windshields and it works marvelously. I'm going to grab my tripod, be right back. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this polish and we're going to just put a lot of it there. It takes a little bit to get down there. I'm going to use a microfiber cloth. And one of these on hand. And we're going to go right to town. I'm going to put the keyboard, I don't want to scratch the keys up any more than they are. So this procedure will go over the basics of refurbishing one of these keyboards. Alright, we're going to take our microfiber cloth and we're just going to dabble it into the polish. Now this is a semi-abrasive polish, which means that it is actually wearing away the top layer of the plastic. Now this isn't going to remove the scratches. What it's going to do is actually help blend them in. Looks like our little keyboard was a bit too deeply scratched to be really cured, but it looks better than it did. Unfortunately, this is just how these keyboards age and there's not much you can do about that. Now the next thing we're going to do is pop off every freaking key. Now if you don't have one of these as a reference, remember Apple keyboards aren't always standardized and they have many different layouts amongst different generations. It's always a good idea to take a photograph of the keyboard before you start working on it. So I'm going to do that. Before I pull any keys off, I'm going to get some photos. That way I know where the volume and function keys are. And then we're going to go to town. So I got some pictures. I need a screwdriver. Here we go. Now we're going to pry off every key. That is a disgusting keyboard. Okay, next we need to take it apart. I did this first because I wanted to make sure there were no hidden screws. I've never taken this model keyboard apart before, so I wanted to make sure that I covered all bases. So now, I'm going to need a screwdriver set. Hopefully I have a bit that fits. I don't know if I do or not. I thought I did. No, I don't actually have a bit that fits. Well, that's a problem, isn't it? These use a very specialized bit. So let's see. Let's improvise. What do we got? I'm going to use a flat blade screwdriver. Not the right thing to do, but in a pinch, you got to do what you got to do. Just be very delicate with these screws. I believe there's one underneath the serial plate, so you want to remove that carefully. Nope, there isn't. False alarm. But I think there's actually one underneath the rubber foot. Nope, no, there wasn't one there either. Nope. There aren't any hidden screws. I was wrong again. Okay. And there you go. Once you get the keyboard apart, you need to disconnect these two flex circuit cables. And we're going to remove this entire board here. So what we need to do now is unscrew the board. Now there's some screws hidden here, here, and here, and here. And those are what hold this middle pan to the bottom pan. To get this through, we just need to turn it sideways and pull the cable through. And now you're left with the acrylic lower pan, scratches and all. And we're going to wash that with, I think I'm going to use Windex. That should be fine. So we're going to spray it with window cleaner. Of course, clean out the sink first. We might give it another polish before we reassemble everything, but we're going to just let that soak, get some hot water going. I'm going to remove any dust, dirt, and other debris from within the pan. Now we just need to get that to dry off. Unfortunately, the way this is designed, we cannot remove the USB cable by itself. So we have to pull the cable through without getting the connector dirty or wet or anything. We're going to put this in the sink just like that, protecting the board and the USB cable. And we're going to clean this exactly the same way. A little bit of Windex. Remember, don't get the USB connector. Keep that away from the cleaning products because it will ruin the connector. Spray it liberally with Windex. Let it sit for a minute and then wash it off. We're just going to let that dry too. The hardest part is going to be the main keyboard tray. Now, you can take this completely apart, but there are 4,000 screws holding it together. There's an easier way. What we're going to do is use a toothbrush, and we're just going to wipe away all the dust and debris and let it fall into the sink. If you want to, you can take this keyboard apart down to its bare elements. I wouldn't recommend doing it, but it's a free country. Unless you live in America, then good luck to you. But we're going to just go ahead and do this with a brush. You can use a paintbrush, that might work even better. Let me see if I have one. Okay, this is a used paintbrush, but it's good enough. We're going to use the paintbrush. Try to get some of that loose dust out of there. Okay. I'm not terribly pleased with the results here, so I might have to. Well, you see, it's working. It's just a little effort to get all that stuff out. But I don't really want to take all 4,000 screws out of this keyboard. So I'm going to find every way I can not to do that. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to take a microfiber cloth, spray it liberally with window cleaner, Notice a theme here? This stuff is good for just about anything. And we're just going to clean it by hand. We can get in between where we wouldn't be with the keys installed, and we can get almost all of that crud out of there. No problem. No hassle. Just like that. So if you have a very stubborn keyboard that doesn't want to come clean, this is one way to do it. The last resort, now, and then you can do this if you have a malfunctioning key or any other issue with the keyboard, but you can certainly go ahead and take all 4,000 screws out, and you can actually clean between the mylar layers. But I caution you against doing that because some of these flex circuits, as they get older, they can become brittle, and you may never get the keyboard to work again. So if your keyboard is functioning, I would recommend doing what I'm doing here, and that is to not take the keyboard completely apart. See if I can get this piece off. You know, that's screwed in place. I'm going to clean underneath it, but I'm not going to bother. Yeah, why not? Let's take that piece off. And looks like it's held in by 2 screws. We're just going to take that off. Clean underneath. So we take this off here, and we can just clean underneath that. Put it right back on again. Okay. And that's about as clean as I'm really willing to get this thing, because it's not like it's in mint condition either. So I can live with a few scratches, I can live with a few specks of dirt. So there we go. Now, we need to clean the keys. That's the fun part. I've been cleaning keyboards for a very long time. Almost every vintage computer that I preserve and resell, every keyboard gets cleaned right down to the last screw. And in some cases even repainted. One of my videos on keyboard cleaning wound up being reposted to a forum. I forget what it was exactly. But it was the keyboard that I cleaned for the IBM PCXT. The keyboard was 30 years old then, and that was about 5 or 6 years ago. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill a sink using liquid Dawn. I only use Dawn dish detergent because it is seriously the strongest you can get legally. I mean, the stuff works really well. We're going to get I used a lot of it too. We're going to get the sink full of nice steamy hot water. Now I'm going to put these keys, first thing I'm going to do is rinse them down, you guessed it, window cleaner, just to get any surface oils off of them. Then we're going to rinse them off. Now, if I ruin any of my keys, that's okay, because I have plenty of spares. But if you don't have spares, you want to be real gentle with them. So we're going to just let that soak in the hot water. I'll let them soak for about an hour or so. Okay. That is hot water, so be careful. For those of you who do not turn your water heaters down, I caution you very much so. I have my water heater turned almost down to its lowest setting, its lowest legal setting, which is about 130 degrees. So that way I don't burn myself. And also costs less to do that. These keys are pretty much clean at this point. I said I was going to leave them soaked for an hour, but let's take a look at some of them here. I might not need to do that. The space bar looks pretty good. The escape key looks pretty awesome. Yeah, these really aren't that dirty. The real problem with this keyboard was what was underneath the keys, not what was on them. So I think these are pretty clean. And I think I'm going to just let these rings off. And that seems like a complete waste, right? But they're not looking too bad. They're looking pretty good. So I'm not that worried about them. They're really looking good. But we're going to just let this drain out and we're going to rinse them. Cold water, of course. Oh, why not throw some hot water on it too? I know it's a crying shame that Apple doesn't make a real keyboard anymore. Instead, they're focusing on building these devices that really suck. I can't type on them. One of the things that most computer companies, well, Apple, I'll just say Apple, don't really understand is that the keyboard is a very intimate piece. It is the sole method of input of data from your brain to the system. It's a very intimate piece of hardware. And people get very defensive when you change their keyboard. You know, well, soccer moms and, you know, dads who play solitaire on their computer or nothing else may not care that you took away their full travel keyboard. But anyone who's serious about writing is going to care. So sometimes it's important that we preserve these old-fashioned full travel keyboards. Because they're just that much more pleasant to type on. The keyboard feel has everything to do with ergonomics. And when you have a keyboard that has no feel or feedback, you lose the intimacy that you once had with that machine. It's a real sad state of affairs when you really can't. I mean, you can always buy an aftermarket keyboard, but a lot of them are very poor quality. So now we're dumping all our keys onto a towel. This is something that I've shown in a few videos over the years. This works really well. This is how I dry them. You take the towel, you fold it over itself, and you just shake it. This shakes all the water out of the keys and gets it into the towel. Like that. Now this towel is now soaked. I'm going to have to do this yet again with another towel. Let's see if I have any left. So I'm going to transfer everything onto this nice, beautiful, dry towel. But it's unfortunate that, you know, and the butterfly keyboards, I mean, those are the ones I have the problem with. Now, the ones that were preceding the butterfly keyboards, the nearly no travel version of the MacBook laptop keyboard, which is similar to the aluminum desktop keyboard, I still can't get used to them. I mean, I type on one every day, and it makes me want to cry because I just I grew up with an IBM Model M, and nothing beats the Model M. I could always adapt the one that I had. I actually sold it, but I could have adapted it to USB and used it, but I didn't really feel like doing that, but alright. This is going to shake the water out of the keys and deposit it right into the rag. Now we're going to just let these air dry for a little while. And before we reassemble the whole keyboard. But until then we have to dry the back plate. And we're going to dry it with, I'm going to use a dry microfiber cloth. Oh, this one's good enough. We're just going to dry it off best we can. And we're going to let these components air dry for a little while. I'm going to take a break and do some reading that new Stephen King novel, End of Watch. It's good. It's getting really good. So I want to try to get up on that. So I'm going to read that for a little while, and we're going to come back to this. So that should be almost dry enough to reassemble. Now we've got the bottom pan. Going to dry that out best we can. Microfiber cloths are really good for drying these things. And I'm going to give this another buff, I think. I'm going to give it a shot. See what we can do. Maybe we can get a little more shine out of this piece. At least that's what I'd like to do. There's no cracks in it, that's good. If there's any cracks in these pieces, it's best to just replace them with, well, assuming you have parts. I have parts, you probably don't. But replace them with other parts. This was one of the better ones that I could find in my pile of junk keyboards, so I have to live with what I have. Yeah, it's pretty good shape though. I am going to go on the hunt though for another bottom pan because I think I can find a better one. But we're going to give this another few chances at showing it's not a dull piece of crap. Alright. So, here we go. Yeah, it's about as good as it's going to get. It's about as good as we're going to get with this thing. Yeah, I think that's it for polishing. I mean, it is better than it was, but not by much. What I was really trying to go for is these really, really rough scuffs here. I wanted to try to polish those out. I mean, I could, but at what cost? You know what I mean? Well, let me try it again. Now, I'm going to focus just on this area right here. This is where it scuffed very badly. It's not happening. It's just too deep. Yeah, it's too deeply scuffed. This would take a lot of work. With a buffing wheel, I'm sure I could make some headway here, but just doing this by hand is just too time consuming, too tedious. And I have more things to do, better things to do with my time. At least I would like to think so. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's just how it is. Yeah. All right, now we're going to start the reassembly of the basic keyboard itself. All right, so the first thing we need to do is get the cable back through the hole in the back here. That in place. Take a look at how it looks from the underneath. Again, not perfect, but this is the bottom of the keyboard, so it's not going to be pretty. So we're going to get the circuit board back in place. Now I want to go ahead and screw the base to the middle plate. Making sure that the cable is routed around the posts like this. That's the strain relief. And there's a strain relief cap that goes on top of that as well. It looks like a little table. But we're going to put that on after we get this plate mounted. This goes against the back of the keyboard and is held in by 2 screws that go in through the front. I have the wrong screws. Yeah, I do. Come on. Yeah, I'm using the wrong screws. Idiot. Alright. My allergies are killing me right now. They're going to be beefier screws. They're going to be these two, I think. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, let's use those instead. No, those aren't the ones. Huh, interesting. They're all the same. At least they seem to be. What am I doing wrong here? Let's take these out. Maybe I got it mixed up. No, they're all the same. That's strange. That's interesting. I'm going to take a closer look at those. Maybe I do have them mixed up. No, I swear to God, they're the same. It's not like the plate's on upside down, it only goes on one way. These are all the same. Well, that's clever. This is not easy. Turns out the plate was upside down. So yeah. Total fail on my behalf. I'm sorry. The plate was upside down. And the screws weren't threading in, they were actually doing the exact opposite. They weren't threading in at all. They were actually going next to the thread, next to the standoff where they're supposed to go. So yeah. And to make matters worse, there's a nice handy up symbol on the back of that plate that I did not actually see. I just ignored it. Hey, it happens. Oh, these screwdrivers aren't magnetized. They're brand new, so I never had a chance to magnetize them. I magnetize all of my screwdrivers. Because I do. Saves a lot of hassle. I've never lost data because of a magnetized screwdriver. I think that's an old wives' tale. If you're working on a floppy disk or a hard disk drive, yeah, you don't want a magnetized screwdriver. But let's be real here. How often are you fixing a hard drive? Yeah, I know, some people will say every day, but you know what? I'm not one of those people, so. Okay. There we go. That's closer to done than we were. Let's get these screws in. I'm still letting my keys air dry. We actually haven't gotten to that yet, so they're still going to dry a little while longer. I'm going to actually put them in front of the fan. I'll let the fan take care of the rest of that. I'm going to get this cable out of my way. Trying to screw next to it is not easy. Okay, now in hindsight, there's one step that we could have not done. We didn't have to remove this. No, actually we did. So I'm going to take that back. We did because we ended up washing this piece anyway. And I see some water down in there, so I'm going to tap it out. Let's try something a little more proactive there. Use this to drink it up. There we go. Oh wait, no, it's bone dry. It's just really shiny in there. No, it's not. There's water. Let me get a Q-tip. Here we go. Take up all the water that we can get. Dry up all that. There we go. Now, get this in there. We're almost done. Be very careful with these flex cables. They will break. Push these into those connectors. Now, these connectors do not have an unlock feature. They are not zero insertion force connectors. They just work based on friction, so keep that in mind. Now we're going to put in the bottom screws. Remember, I don't have the right screwdriver, so I'm using a flat blade. Don't tell Apple, because they would be very mad. You can use a flat blade in a pinch on a hex head, but not a 5-pointed head. Very important to know that. It's not the right thing to do. But when God gives you lemonade, you know that whole story? Right. That one didn't go in. Right, I have an alignment problem. I do. There we go. Alignment problem is now solved. You can't torque on these too much because, again, we're using a flat blade screwdriver. Totally not the right thing to do. Now, I'm going to get comments, as I often do. You should go to the store and buy a hex head. Well, you know what? No, I'm not doing that. Because I have no need to. Because I got the problem solved, right? See, a lot of this is problem solving. See, not everybody has a store next door where they can go out and buy things that they don't have. I live in the middle of nowhere. I am not going to put this on hold so I can spend money on a tool that I'm going to use once. I'm going to use what I have on hand. Deal with it. Oh, people in their comments. People in their comments. When you're sitting behind a keyboard in your mom's basement, in front of a computer that your mom bought you, you can pretty much say whatever you want, right? Well, yeah, you can, but it doesn't mean I have to deal with it. So, that's all done. This thing is ready to go together. I did lose the serial number plate, but it started peeling up, so I'm like, screw it. Okay. One thing I want to talk about here. I had one of these keyboards very recently that was scratching the desk that it was placed on. These screw heads, so what happens is sometimes the keyboard sags down in the corners. For whatever reason, Apple didn't put rubber bumpers over these screws over here. And what happens is the keyboard will sag, and these screw heads, which ever so slightly stick above the surface that they're screwed into, they will scratch the desk that they're placed on. I just wanted to mention that. There is a solution for that, and that is to install thin silicone pads. You can buy them at any craft store. They're like little adhesive bumpers. I found them, I think they have them at Hobby Lobby actually. And you can put those underneath, those, or right on top of those screws, and that will solve that problem. Alright, we're going to take a quick break. Okay, now we begin the reassembly phase. Okay. What I like to do, kind of like building a puzzle, where you want to put the outside pieces together first. We're going to start with this space bar. The keys that we know go in place. Now, when inserting these keys with torsion bars installed, these torsion bars, or leveling bars, they work exactly like the excuse me, the anti-roll system in your car's suspension. So as one side is being pushed down, it pulls the other side down at the same time. So if you hit the key on this side, it twists this torsion bar, which pulls down the other side of the key at the same time. It's pretty cool. You want to slide those in first, and then you lock the key into position. Like that. Okay, we got our volume keys. We could spend some time and sort these out first, but we're going to put some keys where we know they go. Shift keys also have those leveling torsion bars. We're going to take those, we're going to pull those out. Here's a long shift key, it goes here. Short shift key goes here. Let's find the return key. Oh, here's the caps lock key. It's pretty identifiable because there's a little window in it. Okay, we're done, except for one thing. Well, two things. Bonus points for those of you who can figure out what piece I forgot to install. Can you figure it out? Can you figure it out? I know you can. It's one piece I did not install. Do you know what it is? Well, unfortunately, well, it's not really that bad. Easy fix. I forgot to install the strain relief cap. It's an easy thing to fix, and I'm going to fix it right now. It's this little piece here. This goes over the cord strain relief to keep it together under high stress. And it has to be installed because it was originally part of the keyboard, so I'm going to put it back. I don't have to take the keys off, though, to do this. It's an easy fix. I'm just going to take these 3 little screws off. very carefully. I'm just going to put it back in place. There we go. That wasn't so bad. But we are done. We are done. The keyboard is reassembled and should be good to go. Just a few years, anyway. Try to get it locked and loaded. If you've made it this far in the video, congratulations, you've earned a prize. I don't know what that prize is, but I'm just kidding. You did not earn a prize, but thank you for your viewership. Thank you for your viewership. We're going to do a quick test of this keyboard to make sure everything is hunky-dory. And once we do that, I'm going to call this a done project. So thank you for your patronage. Back together. Put the screwdrivers away. We're done with those. Yay. That was an easy one. I've done a lot of keyboard rebuilds like this where you basically strip it down to nothing and then you rebuild it from scratch, and it's kind of a satisfying experience. It really is, in a weird way. It's incredibly satisfying to do this because you take an otherwise junky old keyboard that's in really bad shape and you make it brand new again. You make it brand new again. This thing looks beautiful. Unfortunately, this keyboard was spared the discoloration that happens to these over time as a result of the use of fire retardants in the plastic, specifically bromine. And it causes the plastic to turn yellow. I have some of these keyboards that the upper tray, just below the keys, is completely yellow. It's a very sad thing to see. So let's power up the iMac and see how this keyboard functions. Looks like the caps lock key works already. I have a good feeling about this. So let's take a look at the screen here.